A myriad of title changes, defences, and of course the legend that is vacant once again ascends to the mountaintop. Some of the stories in WWE are finally heating up with endless possibilities for a bit of good old-fashioned fantasy booking. Let's dig through everything from a bumper weekend in the WWE. We are back. It's Tuesday night. We have finally caught up with all of the shenanigans that is Raw and SmackDown. Two-man team tonight. Ross, how we doing?
Good, man. I think we've got a very interesting Raw and SmackDown to pick our way through tonight. I look forward to this as much as you do. So let's not waste any more time. Let's dive right in.
It is an interesting one, and we are straight into SmackDown, which, although maybe wasn't as action-packed in terms of the amount they crammed into the show, a lot of high points, and we will start with the Women's Tag Team Championship match, which I know you've got a bit of interest in. You've enjoyed the work of Sol Ruca and Zaria in NXT. I'm a little bit confused by the result and the way the match was done. The fact that Sol Ruca is defending the NXT North American Championship against Blake Monroe, who's inevitable that she'll hold gold at some point in NXT, suggests to me that a call-up's probably not too far away.
But then you forget that she also has another championship at the same time, that she still has a speed title. No, I agree. My only confusion around it, because I want to see it happen. I want to see the pair of them come up, because either as a tag team or two singles, they are really, really good. My only confusion is they keep on doing the same angle in each match where one of them makes a mistake that costs them the big match. But when they're up against anyone they're supposed to beat, it just it's fine. They've teased 3 or 4 times about splitting them up. So I thought this was the opportunity where they either would have went with that and maybe just ran with it there and then, just because we'll probably get to it. SmackDown and Raw this week were quite chaotic in a number of different ways. I thought they might have just went for it there, or they were just going to take the belts. Whereas we kind of got neither of them. But a really, really good match, though. I just love watching these two work. And obviously they're up against two. I mean, if you're talking about potential Mount Rushmores, that these are two people that are going to be involved in a conversation on the women's side. It was fantastic to watch the 4 of them go. It was a great, great watch. Just slightly interesting way of finishing it, I suppose.
It's a really difficult position that they found themselves in with regards to the booking, because Sol Ruca and Zaria have been excellent together, and they do have potential as a tag team. However, there's no doubt that their ultimate futures are likely to be in the singles division. Sol Ruca is a bona fide main eventer waiting to happen. Zaria, perhaps less so, but has that potential anyway. But you're going up against two absolute first ballot Hall of Famers that are having fun and probably aren't quite ready to split up, which means they aren't quite ready to drop the titles, which means when they do eventually drop the titles, they have to put the right people over in the right way. There's no point in putting over a team like Sol and Zaria for them then to split up a month later.
Yeah, that's a very fair point.
And I'm struggling to see where this goes, whereas ultimately I do think it could be back in something like the Secret Service that is a stable that will stay together for a period of time. But I have thoroughly enjoyed Alexa and Charlotte's work this year together. You've seen a different side of them, a bit fun, especially for Charlotte, a bit more relaxed after the sort of Mania run. I think the difficulty that they have in that particular situation is that with the injury concerns in the last couple of months, which we know Piper Niven's out for, let's say indefinitely, but she's out for a good while. We do think Charlotte was probably carrying some sort of niggle injuries in storyline. She was, whether that's real, or whether that was to help cover the Piper Niven situation, it's hard to tell. But it did kill a little bit of the momentum because they were on TV every week. I think this match has probably happened a few weeks later than maybe originally planned for. So it'll be interesting to see how they build that momentum, because I think if they are going to drop it to an up-and-coming team or an up-and-coming pair of individuals, or a pair of up-and-coming individuals, I'm trying to think of the right way to phrase it, a pair of up-and-coming individuals, that's probably the right term. You want momentum behind the story in the match so that the 1, 2, 3 is a moment that propels these people into the main roster.
I think that's fair. That's a very fair comment. It'll be interesting to see who and when that is, when the time comes, and obviously if Sol and Zaria come up together or come up separately. But yeah, certainly some signs of life there, which is encouraging.
I'm just trying to figure out where to go next, because that was quite a short discussion, but everything it was a good match. I'm starting to lose a little bit of love for the Soul Snatcher.
Interesting.
Maybe it's just because when you see it on NXT, these people are working every day at the PC, so the match is probably relatively well scheduled and planned out, versus Charlotte taking it for the first time probably on the fly. It just looked like she dived into it too much, to the point where it was like, did Sol Ruca actually hit the move? You know what I mean? It's like the RKO. Obviously, it's a similar. Obviously, the person has to jump, but if that person jumps before Randy jumps, it didn't look clean.
Yeah.
And I just wonder how much of that particular move, because when it looks good, it looks good.
Yeah, but it's maybe just one of those ones that they're not hugely familiar with working with each other yet. Like if there was even a couple more of those matches, that maybe goes away. But you're right, it's always going to be the downside of putting these people in from NXT and pulling them up one when they're not necessarily working with the main roster people all the time. That's the question mark you might get.
That's the difference between NXT, where you have a week to prep for a match, versus you may be calling most of the match on the fly on the main roster. That's what makes some certain people elite. I'm looking at the timer, and we're 7 minutes in, and I know we've got to try and give good minutes, but we've got so much coming for Raw that we all need to move on. We're going to go to the main talking point from Friday night, which, spoiler alert, I built a thumbnail and title and description for this video and podcast around this, and then completely ripped it up last night and started the game after Raw. But Sami Zayn versus Ilya Dragunov for the United States Championship. Let's talk the match. Okay, so we'll save the storyline in the future for a few minutes' time. Let's talk the match. This was a letdown for me. And not in the way you might think. Not in the way you might think.
I'm intrigued.
Not in the way you might think. Well, not in the obvious sense. The match itself was brilliant. It was hard-hitting. I don't believe the rumours that Sami Zayn handpicked Ilya Dragunov. That's not how it works.
No, I'm pretty sure that's not how it works.
It might do if it's a case of, we're not sure if it's this guy or this guy, and you've got a John Cena, Randy Orton level talent, and he says, look, I really think we should put this person over and try and push them.
Yeah.
I can understand that, but I'm not saying Sami doesn't have that type of respect in the business, but not for the United States Championship. There is a plan here, which we're going to get to in a minute. The reason it's disappointing is we have said for so long, at some point you have to put this US Open Challenge on a PLE to make it feel something. And that was that was a PLE level match. And I had to do it at least twice, because I had to go into a PLE and have Sami win, so that when it was on the PLE the second time, people weren't going, oh, it's a PLE, he's obviously going to win. He's obviously going to drop it this time. So that's my criticism. I feel as though that was a PLE match, especially considering like a Perth crowd the week before would have been brilliant for that type of match.
Yeah, it's a pretty reasonable argument, because you're right, the actual match itself was an absolute banger. Like, so many near falls, crowd bought right in. Crowds on both shows, I actually thought this Friday and Monday were absolutely electric. We'll get to Raw later on about how they were just chef's kiss. But yeah, it's weird how they've cut it short, because then obviously it leaves you questions about, well, is this challenge now dead? Because I don't imagine this is going to be continued on by Dragunov. That sounds like that would be a strange choice. I wouldn't necessarily hate it, but it would be a strange choice. And then, yeah, what does it mean for Sami moving forward as well? Because normally you start to allude to something or pull the threads, and there was nothing post-match. It just kind of, he had this moment with the belt, and then that was your whack. Very odd. It did kind of seem like this weekend they just kind of went, oh, let's just stir it up a bit. And that's kind of the overall feeling I felt, is everything kind of got a little bit stirred up, which is interesting. I don't know if that's maybe how you feel as well.
And it's why I've got that. And someday, one of our regular commenters on TikTok, Bella Bragdo, did comment and saying people just like to moan about things, and part of this is we have to bring up some criticism. We can't just say we loved it, because that's boring. But my only criticism of the whole weekend of wrestling is some of this happened in a PLE, because it was like really big, high level title changes and shit going on. Like that's a PLE thing. not.
It's a compliment as well to the match itself.
Oh,
when you say things like that,
it's a compliment.
It's not just an actual dig. It's a valid point to make.
But as you said, one thing that makes it was the crowd were hot, the near falls, the storytelling, the fact that Ilya looked so good after a year out sells it. The fact that it creates an intrigue around him coming back. Who's his challenger is going to be? And the answers I don't know because there's nothing obvious there. I'll address this bit just now because I've got it in my notes, and I've seen a lot of people online criticising that Ilya Dragunov took the title, the usual Triple H is Triple K. Comments kicking about because he wouldn't put over something like Melo. Just starting to say the fact that Melo clearly isn't getting the job done. Isn't good enough.
Yeah, I mean, because obviously we don't really know what's kind of going on there and what happened, but you see this a lot where they will just make a decision on the fly, and this is probably Ilya's sink or swim. It's this run after a big injury. What used to happen in the Vince days was kind of you. If you got a big serious injury, you were put to one side and it would take you years. Obviously, H is kind of going for the, all right, okay, when you come back, we're actually going to give you a moment because we believe in you, but if you don't run with it, that's you done. Which, I mean, it's still backing the man, it's confidence in your guy.
But you think about Ilya Dragunov taking the United Kingdom NXT Championship from Gunther, having some bangers with Gunther last year before injury. It's one of the ones where the injury comes at I know it's a bad injury, but a not bad time because Gunther was clearly the guy who was going to be the world champion and pushed him in, and he's been world champion twice. The risk is you get lost. Instead, you get a quote-unquote free year off and you come back as still this hot commodity who's now got an opportunity on a show that is struggling for big stars. Yeah. Or at least that's how it feels sometimes. So I don't know where this is going to go for Ilya Dragunov. I really hope that, as we say most weeks, he's allowed to have some good wrestling matches to really stamp home the fact that he's now the champion. I don't think he drops this title before Christmas. I think he needs to re-establish himself in the main roster. That is the only risk with winning a championship on essentially a re-debut, isn't it? Because he's not been on the main roster for that long. So the interesting side of it is the Sami side, because I don't see a clear path to the WWE Championship, pending what I say when we talk Cody versus Drew. I wondered if they were maybe going to move him onto Raw on Monday in this Battle Royal, or whatever it was going to end up being, because we didn't know at the time. And there was a plan to say, well, we have a free hit, let's give him a couple of months. If it doesn't work, we can switch it back for Mania season. So I'm actually more confused that he wasn't involved. Yeah. And I'm really worried that he's somehow going to be involved in some sort of bloodline storyline moving forward, because that's just going to... I will have to hold my hands up to the people on TikTok complaining and say, you know what, you're right.
He does have a habit of gravitating towards that also. So, I mean, would you be shocked? Yeah. It is an interesting one. Like, you would think with the injuries they've got around the place, the small little vacuums and little pockets that could be opening up, that maybe he'd be able to sort of worm his way in and be able to do something. But it does just leave that question mark. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're going to tune into SmackDown on Friday and find out, is he going to be there? I would suggest maybe he won't be, and you'll actually be kind of left, because there is a few weeks until the next Saturday Night Main Event, isn't there? There is a little bit of time.
1st of November, it's not as far away as you think. 2 weeks.
Wow, okay, I honestly thought it was like the middle of the month. Right, okay, well, they need to do something then, you would imagine, pretty quickly, to fill that 5-match card that they'll no doubt make.
And finally, the main event segment from last week's SmackDown. An impromptu WWE Undisputed Championship match. Roscoe, Cody versus Drew. Now, a couple of assumptions we've made here that clearly Cody was not planned and booked to wrestle, hence the suit. Again, a little bit confused because Jacob Fatu, what we understand, was never cleared to wrestle. Because this dental injury down to what they had done, which means it's a hell of a risk to book him into a number one contender type story without confirmations available. Before we actually get into the match itself, give me your thoughts on both those elements, and also the fact that we talk a lot about the logjam in WWE and SmackDown facing it particularly. It's actually sometimes feels worse on the women's side. But Drew McIntyre hadn't actually competed in a match in a month since WrestlePalooza. That was his last match. But again, I'm following the Bleacher Report notes. We say last time in action, Cody Rhodes against Seth Rollins at Crown Jewel, Drew versus Cody, WrestlePalooza, because he's not involved in that story, which just shows you the thing we've continually said. If you want to keep stories hot, you have to have an option of bringing them in on a weekly basis.
Yeah, you do. Honestly, I did not realise that was as long as that. That is mad. It's an odd one because they definitely gave that impression, and I like that from that perspective of it really did make it look like it was impromptu. You even get the chaos at the beginning of the match where we're not quite entirely sure if this is a title match. Is actually oh wait, it is. I like that. In fairness, if you're trying to sell this as two guys brawling with each other, it is going to be a little bit chaotic and frenetic and stuff like that. Like you're going to have that kind of element. So to me, that actually felt like it made it feel a bit more real, which I like that. Obviously, we don't really know what's going on with Jacob, because it went from the initial chat was well into 2026, and then suddenly it's, oh no, it's a dental issue. I really struggle now to even think, oh, is he legitimately, but is he really out? Have you just gave him a few weeks off? And I think we'll get to this again with Raw, because I'm starting to have some suspicions that the Rollins thing's strange, but we'll get there. It's odd. It's odd that they've came together again. But
the only thing with Jacob is he was off telly for a while there post the feud with Solo, and I just wonder if they brought him back when they expected him to be available and then found out he couldn't be cleared. That's the only thing that makes me think it's legit, is the fact that he was off television for a period of time.
So we're thinking it is literally 3 weeks, and it's just that doesn't 3 or 4 weeks, and it's this doesn't quite work for what we want, so therefore we have to write you off to bring you back.
I don't know. Certainly last week we were a little bit confused as to why it was what Jacob Fatu lost the feud with Solo Sikoa, but it wasn't the type of feud where you then obviously Solo then dropped with Sami, but it's tailing up with Sami. It's not the type of feud that he was putting someone over and you're like, okay, I get it, he's done this, but it's now his title run wasn't great, and his elevation to the world title picture didn't feel right to me, because I felt like he was better before he was a champion, and it's a risk to put him up a level again. So I just wondered if maybe they did see some of the reaction and go, okay, maybe it's not a compelling story. Maybe we just use an injury angle to pivot, but it could be down to work. I think he's not got like a full grill, so I don't know if maybe he's had to have some work done. I don't know if he's had to have some work done, and maybe there has been an issue with it. That rumour's believable. I don't believe the non-medical issue, non-injury medical issue, because that is medical. Dental is when you're a doctor, if you're a dentist, aren't you? So, it's a little bit sus. I'm not saying it's not a work. I don't think it's a fake injury. I think if it's a work, it's purely we've changed our mind, so we're going to use an injury to write him off for a few weeks. Versus I think it's more of a legit work than a screwy work.
A work.
Yeah. I mean, the match itself was a bit of a brawl, but it's left me with more questions than answers, because it didn't follow the story between the two of them, really, because the story was already heading that way. It didn't do anything for either guy. It probably just kept the crowd happy a little bit. Personally speaking, they should have pivoted US title match to the main event, and that might have been a better move. And then you have Cody Rhodes with a clear DQ to retain the title, which I'm not saying everything has to be traditional in the WWE. However, that is extremely heelish, and if you look at the way people like Dom Mysterio and other heels have been booked in certain ways, that is an absolute heel move. Is it just one of the things where Cody was like, I've been caught off guard, I'm keeping my title, we'll figure this out later? Is that what the story is going to be? Is there a turn coming? Is there a double turn coming? Where Cody goes heel in Drew goes face? But I just don't see that.
I mean, I know that's what you would like to potentially happen, but I don't know. And I'm kind of happy to see how it plays out. My initial gut feeling was that it was just Drew, the whole thing is meant to be Drew has pushed me to this, and it's to make Drew look a little bit stronger because they know that he's had the sort of shit end of the stick out of the last couple of feuds. So it's maybe a very quick and easy way to let him look strong, to go, look, there's your champion, your face champ is having to cheat to retain his title against you. Well done you type thing. It could well be a turn. I guess we'll see. We'll find out pretty soon. They'll start sowing some more seeds on Friday night, you would imagine. But yeah, an interesting one. And I think a feud that whilst we kind of got question marks over why they've chose it and what they're going to do, if it ends with Drew walking out with the title, are we going to be that upset as people who massively go for the Scots? Probably not.
Yeah,
so, there's that.
I mean, there's some intrigue in the story because Drew plays, it's almost like an anti-hero, really, is the kind of role he's been playing the last 18 months, 2 years. And you see him on Logan Paul's podcast and some other podcasts and some interviews back here, and he kind of stays in character. He just tones it down a little bit, and he plays. People can be critical of, you're allowed to be an evil heel. You don't need to be a heel that tells the truth and technically is a good guy. But Drew was kind of doing, must have been doing it first, but of the current bunch that have tried that route, he was doing it. And he does it better than anyone else, especially social media work. So I think he's the exception that gets away with it. Again, that might be a Homer opinion, but he stays in character all the time. So, and this is going to sound silly, but I don't think him taking someone out backstage fits with the character he's been playing. I think you see him the way he acts. Like, even when he talked about Damien Priest, I couldn't get Damien Priest for nearly a year, but we had some great matches, and if we play got one over him in the steel cage, he does. It's like we have a fight. If I lose the fight, that's fine. I will say the other guy beat me in the fight, as long if it's fair and square.
Yeah,
him taking out someone like Jacob Fatu, who on paper is not on his level, doesn't make sense with the character. So I do think there's another bit of the story to come in there. Talk could have been Orton, could have been Cody. It's probably more likely to have been the MFTs or something else like that, to be honest. But there is an interesting wrinkle that I do feel like Drew has to go for at some point. And I say this every feud he's in, but I feel like he's lost every feud he's been involved in for the last number of years. And it's a testament to the guy and his work that he's getting away with this. But it's not ideal when you're paying this guy millions of dollars to lose every year.
Very true.
But I do think there is a story. Drew beats Cody. Drew versus Sami. They have unfinished business because Drew was doing the whole bloodline hunting. The story disappeared because it was going to take over the WWE, but the greatest story ever told. That's a more compelling story than anything between Sami and Cody, unless the plan's to go Cody heel and have Cody versus a face Sami, which could work. But
are they ready for Cody to not be the top guy? Because they're not really going to have him as the top guy as a heel. So then who's the top? Who's the guy? Is the question mark. But
if there was ever a time,
was there never a time to pull the trigger on someone like Dom and turn them face? This is maybe your time.
Go talk about it in a few minutes. I like track.
They've definitely got a lot of routes that they can take. It will be very interesting to see which ones they go for, or if they go for none of them, and we're just all left kind of scratching their heads a little bit. This
is definitely one that I want to hear people in the comments. Both world titles, because for the first time in a while, it does feel there's a little bit of intrigue. The only thing I'll say is my heart tells me time for a change. My head tells me Cody holds this at least through Mania. I said in a TikTok the other day that if it wasn't for John Cena's return, Cody's probably 3/4 of the way through a minimum 2-year title run. I believe that's the only reason the title does get a bit boring. And I will say that the guy who said, how can you say things are good, but also say they're stale, they mean two different things. Stale means things are staying the same, but sometimes staying the same can be enjoyable.
Can be good. Yeah.
Well, that being said, we do have to move on to Raw, but I'm going to do just a quick mid-episode plug. Just say, did you guys know that we also have a nerd culture type YouTube and TikTok channel called The Nerd Pandemic? We're over there, we're like collecting games, retro games, etc. We've got an ongoing series. Ross and I have both been picking up retro WWE, WWF games. You can see Ross's copy of one of the early PS1 games right there.
WWF Warzone.
Warzone. Yeah. And there's a couple of those kicking about with the 3 that I've picked up, but I am going to go for a master set of everyone available in the next couple of months. If you're interested in that type of stuff, where we do also bleed the kind of, or blend nerd versus wrestling, come and join us over there. Oh, and if you like wrestling cards, let me know, because I don't really do, I keep that for myself, but if anybody wants to talk wrestling cards, I'm more than happy to bring it to the podcast.
He could as well, that's the thing, he could easily have his own podcast on them on his own.
So yeah, Nerd Pandemic over on YouTube, everywhere else. But let us know if you want us to merge any of that content in this channel as well. Monday Night Raw. Let's start with the Men's World Tag Team Championship. 2 things before we get to the big story picture, Ross. Number 1, if you put 4 good wrestlers in a ring and let them work, you will have a good match, especially with a hot crowd.
100%.
2, JD McDonough is a very underrated wrestler.
Also very true. It's why it's a little bit criminal that they have not defended those titles as much as I would like to see them defend those titles, because, I will always enjoy, obviously, watching AJ Styles and Finn Balor in the same ring, but in particular, Finn and JD work together really, really well. It's a little bit of a sort of sleeper team, the pair of them. They just don't often get the chance to show what they can do for reasons that obviously we don't quite know why that happens. The guy's good, man. The guy is really good. The guy also doesn't care much for his safety sometimes, and it can be very entertaining to watch.
I mean, I do firmly believe. I do firmly believe that the injury that he had, the injury that he did have, probably contributes to the I've lost my complete train of thought, man. Benjamin contributes to that whole idea of sleeper team, because for a long time you forgot that JD McDonough was Judgment Day because he was injured. But things like that standing Spanish fly is ridiculous. The moonsault is like picture perfect. It's a very good tag match, and it's a good position to be. I think AJ having a belt at this point and he's kicking off his farewell run is a good place to be, because he'll help showcase somebody like Dragon Lee. And eventually they'll put another tag team over and they'll put over some of their singles runs. From that perspective, it's a really good place to be. I thought it was a great match. I thought it's a shame that Finn Balor once again ate another pin. That is the issue there. But again, the guy can handle it because it's Finn Balor. But I mean, this was again. I use Bleacher Report just to pad my notes sometimes, and they've given it an A, and I'm like, it was a very good tag match, and
it was
almost a shame because we've been critical of the Raw tag division, men's tag division all year, and this is the type of match you can have if you have the right people in the ring.
Yeah, it shows you that the talent is there. Just try and book them together, and you will ultimately, like, matches like that are actually one of the ones where the crowd did not elevate that match. They elevated the crowd, and the crowd just kept on going throughout the whole night. And the last thing we talk about the match specifically is the 2 near falls. The 2.99 for JD McDonough straight in off the camera angle. And for anybody that was criticising the referee in the women's SmackDown title triple threat a few weeks ago, that's why the referee doesn't just automatically count to 3 if they know it's not the finish. That's why they swipe. I think it was borderline. It was so close to being late that the referee couldn't have swiped any slower, but that made it like it was basically perfect. I think if the referee hadn't swiped, I think it's a 3 count. I think it's that tight. It's that millisecond tight, and because the camera angle we had is that he's not kicking out here, and then JD McDonough just appears out of nowhere, and then the second near forward Dragon Lee dives halfway across the ring, which again. We get the behind camera angle. I'm not 100% convinced he makes it far enough, but the camera angle was well worked for it. It had everything. It was just such a good. Again, there was nothing spectacular. There was no chairs. There was no weapons. There was no ridiculousness. Not a lot of chaos in this match. It was just a very good fucking wrestling match with 4 very good wrestlers. It really, really was. It shows you that quite often you see it across life that restriction can make art flourish. The restriction they had was have that match within the confines of the rules of a regular wrestling match, and by God, they done it. It was absolutely phenomenal.
I mean, in terms of what's coming next, I don't know. They need to do something. They need to get a tag team at that level that can have a good series of matches. We have called for numerous months that they're having some sort of shake-up, moving some people across. I think that is the answer. But I'd like to see. I think AJ has to bring somebody through it. Is Rey Fenix, Javon Evans the type of tag team that maybe could have some fun?
They could have some good matches, I think, for sure. Yeah,
I think this is now an interesting division to keep an eye on, because because he is retiring at some point next year, AJ Styles is not going to want to miss out on wrestling. If his opportunity, he's going to want to be involved as much as possible. So hopefully, it sees the division showcased a little bit more. And hopefully we finally move towards a Judgment Day breakup, if that is the plan. I do wonder if the Liv Morgan situation contributed to them not defending the titles as much as perhaps they should have.
It's potentially the case, because obviously they hinted at doing it a couple of times and then they sort of pulled back on doing it. And then obviously, I mean, I don't know about you, but the way I took the backstage segments was that was what they were sort of alluding, that there's going to be this rift. And you can see who it's going to be. It's probably going to be around, like Roxanne is going to be one of the people that's going to maybe cause some interest in this. I just want to pull the trigger on it, man, because I think it'll be great. And it could spawn about 3 feuds on its own. So, yeah, very intriguing.
We're then going to move into the men's IC Championship. Stick on that Judgment Day story. This was a strange match for me because technically it was heel versus heel, right? So if you're not wanting to turn Dom Mysterio face, you can't have him up against a heel like Rusev, and most people can't be arsed with. I don't know. It felt weird. I think there was a commercial break at one point in the middle, which obviously we don't need to deal with here in the UK for the reruns. We do for the PLEs, which is a bit annoying. Don't see the ad break, we just see the pictures and the music, but we don't have to deal with that. I could imagine how that maybe interrupt the flow of the match a little bit. It wasn't a great match, especially because I don't believe that Rusev's really a threat to take the title for Dom Mysterio, but the crowd were unbelievable in this match because everyone is so behind Dom.
Yeah. It was almost like he was kind of working like a tweener, so almost.
Over.
Like, I think he is just naturally going face.
He was doing the dirty stuff whilst getting the reaction.
Yeah.
I feel like every week in a Wednesday I put a clip out that's us talking about Dom Mysterio, right? But that guy 2 years ago could not get a word in because he was getting booed out the fucking building. And we at the time, pre-pod, but we were just wrestling fans talking wrestling, said, that's not even go away heat. That is real heel heat. He is being paid to generate interest and reaction. And he will do that for a long, long time in this business. And he's just waited and waited. The guy was heel and turned more heel in 2023 by turning on Rhea Ripley. And now it's like, we'll get to the Battle Royal, but now it's like, again, there was a free hit there potentially for a guy like Dom Mysterio. He's so fucking good for us.
He's very, very good. And for me, when you put him in a match with another heel, you're right, you don't tend to go heel versus heel. I don't think that's what that was. I genuinely do think that was tweener versus heel, because I think that's how they're going to do it with him. Is I don't know if there's going to be a moment with him. Maybe it's the moment that the Judgment Day splits up. Maybe. But it seems to me like they are just week by week just letting him do what he does. And because he has the moment, where he's like geeing up the crowd as well. Like, heels don't do that either.
No.
So they're just letting this naturally happen. I would imagine the Judgment Day splits, and that's where he's just like biggest baby face in the company. Because by that point, Cena's probably gone or almost gone.
I mean, the heel versus heel thing's a valid point, but the week before in Perth, Penta was getting booed.
Yeah, exactly. Which probably maybe that's when the nudges are needed to go right. Maybe we need to make this happen. Because
Dom has been appearing without the Judgment Day more and more often. He has been on his own. If you're asking me, the moment that Dom Mysterio turns face should be the moment that the 1, 2, 3 is counted and he lifts the World Heavyweight Championship. Just because the crowd will go fucking nuts.
Oh, they will. They will go bananas.
He doesn't need turned on. He doesn't need turned on anyone else. We saw it at WrestleMania this year. If you have the proper wrestling crowd, and this is the issue with the Vegas, the Saudi situation, the Vegas situation, is he going to get the right reaction in Saudi at a Rumble or at Mania? Possibly not, but do it in Vegas, do it in SummerSlam. Like, holy shit, do it in Mexico City. I mean, that would be the Mexicans love him. Like, just pull the fucking trigger. It's time, and I'm going to get to this in the Battle Royal because I do think they've missed an opportunity. I think they've missed 2 opportunities, but I think there's an obvious opportunity that they have taken with the World Heavyweight Championship, and I'll make my prediction on that when we get to the main event situation, because title and thumbnail, a lot of talking to be done. I feel like the IC title is going to end up in a multi-man match where he drops the title without being involved in the pin, and that's how they move him on. I think that's kind of obviously going to happen.
I think that seems fair enough to me.
That's my prediction.
Is that a spoiler? Well, in a prediction.
Aye. Just been shared news that Lillian Garcia signed a new 2-year deal as well. WWE. It's interesting. Women's IC title, Roscoe. You want to lead off on this? Because I know, because without Daz, I think I've been leading off and everything, so you want to lead off on this match?
I mean, yeah, I was kind of hoping that he would come and rescue me, because, yeah, this was... I am surprised at this. Obviously, it was, a fortnight ago we had the last iteration of this. Was that right? Was it 2 weeks ago? Because I don't think it was on the show last week.
No, it wasn't, because she wasn't in Perth, was she? Becky Lynch wasn't in Perth.
So there was that, and then obviously they put on, again, my eyes, another really good match. I don't know where this version of Maxine Dupree has came from, but She's very, very good. Obviously, in her hometown, I think they did some good stuff there. Obviously, as you would expect. But what I'd love to know from you is, are you the same as me? You're just a little bit not confused, intrigued by where that's going to go? Because obviously she's came out of nowhere, and I mean literally out the cold. Forgot she was even there level, but has now put on 2 very, very good matches that makes you think, well, have they suddenly found something there? Is it like they just kind of found her at the PC and you went, shit, actually, you're good now? And you come, like, what do you think?
I mean, it's probably worth clarifying here that confused and intrigued, at least when I'm talking on the pod, mean the same thing. It's just confused means I don't like it, and intrigued means that I like it. I'm going to go with confused on this one because AJ Lee has been off telly since WrestlePalooza, which we kind of expected. Mm-hmm. We do think there'll be a proper singles feud between her and Becky. I had that as a potential WrestleMania match next year. I've seen some other people predict them elsewhere. I do think we're now in the realms where this could stretch to Mania because AJ Lee's been away for a while. With that being said, the two of them don't need a title.
It's true.
Could we have something like AJ Lee costing Becky Lynch the Intercontinental title, allow Maxine Dupree to hold it? My biggest concern in that situation would be, can Maxine Dupree cut a weekly promo and have weekly matches on the level of Becky Lynch? Now, mid-card champions don't need to appear every week. They don't need to be Becky Lynch or Sami Zayn, but the risk is you end up a Julia situation where you just fade into obscurity and it hinders you. So there's a level of intrigue, but I would go confusion where the feud came out of nowhere.
It did. It very much was we need something for Becky. Who can we try? Because it was almost like it was Becky can walk anyone through a match. We know Becky with Lyra is able to elevate people right up to the stars, and then if you choose the right person, they'll stay there. So that's what it seems like to me is, well, here's the next one in this sort of conveyor belt, and that's maybe what we're going to get from Becky Lynch for a little bit, which I don't dislike it. Because she's clearly very, very good at it. Is this the right person? I guess we'll find out.
Like I said, I've got Bleacher Report in front of me because it helps me remember what happened in the matches as I'm doing my notes first. My notes are all storyline based. Sometimes we need to talk about the actual match itself. They've got a way too early Mania predictions up there, and what they're predicting Becky Lynch versus Steph Kerr for the world title, with Becky putting Stephanie over, and I'm okay with that, but Becky won the feud with Lyra officially, and that's fine. But I feel like she couldn't lose a feud for the IC title, then lose that feud as well. If you're putting people over, that's great, but you have to also win occasionally yourself. Otherwise, it means nothing. So when John Cena kept losing matches when he was fully part time, it's got to the stage now where it doesn't mean anything if you beat John Cena. There is confusion there. I do wonder if this is one of those things where they just thought, like, let's have this match as a one-off. Let's see how Maxine's improved. People like what they see. Then that's great, and she'll just disappear a wee bit, but she'll be more involved, we'll build her up, and it actually delivered such a good performance at the event.
It would be really a 6-week program or something like that, maybe.
It'd be really, really unfair to fade her back into obscurity. I hope that's the case. If that's the case, it's brilliant, because that's like stepping up and grabbing that proverbial brass ring.
Oh yeah, big time.
Which is a hell of a place to be. So I don't think this is the end of Becky's run. There is a path where it could be. I think where my intrigue is, but I do think it would have to involve AJ Lee to set that story up. The next thing I've got on my note here is, and I'm really trying to speed to this because I've been doing really good on podcast timing recently, and I'm aware that we've got 2 recordings now, but Nikki Bella returned. Why? Who cares?
But yeah, weirdly the crowd did. Did you notice that? Like, again, crowd was sensational. Crowd were absolutely electric. They also popped for this. So
I mean, they popped the last time, then she get fucking booed out the building. She actually wrestled at Paris, but then that's because it's a foreign crowd who usually cut through the bullshit.
Maybe, yeah. I think we're both getting the same point of question mark, shrug.
I mean, is giving Stephanie a mouthpiece a bad thing? Possibly not. Is Nikki Bella counting as a somewhat active wrestler? If she is, I think that could be detrimental with Stephanie Vicaire. I don't think that's even a feud I want to see if they split in a few months' time. This is, again, confusion for me, I'm going to say, or intrigue, because I don't... Nikki Bella was good 10 years ago, and she still is technically good in the ring, but the business has moved on. And I, again, was critical, not critical, but pre-WrestlePalooza that I said my concern with AJ Lee was the same. The 3 moves she'd done when she returned was a Thez press, slaps, the windmill. And I was like, if we see that, that's an issue because the women's side of the business has moved on since then, and we did see that. There's better talent available in the main roster. There's better talent in NXT, and Maxine Dupree's had 2 better matches against Becky Lynch and Nikki Bella did. So is Nikki Bella good enough to take up a space in the card? I don't know.
Very fair.
I think the thing is, I don't want to be overly critical because it feels I'm just picking on her. I'm not. I'm picking on that era. I think when you've got wrestling fans like us who remember the Divas era, like non-fondly, I think that word would be, but we don't look back on it. We don't look back on it with fondness. We look back on it as the toilet break, the 2-minute filler. This is the match that's cut if we need to cut matches. The Vince doesn't care. The butterfly title. That's what we look back on and say it dipped. At least before them, had Trish and with Lita putting on real matches. It dipped, and it wasn't the women's fault because some of them were brilliant, and we've heard the stories of women being told to re-record matches because their punches looked too good. And thankfully, people like Chris Jericho were able to step up and say, "Don't blame the women, blame the men if they're not doing their job properly." Yeah, but I guess it maybe it's just we're struggling to see off. You see Nikki Bella's name, the connotations of Diva style, Twin Magic. The butterfly title, and maybe it's just like, what does it do for the people just now who when they started were already surpassed what that product was 10, 12 years ago? In fact, it's probably more than that, isn't it? Really, I think it's about 10 years since. I want to just double check this. I'm thinking that 2015 must have been the Divas Revolution.
It was around about that time.
Yeah, there you go. Charlotte made her main roster debut on July 13th, 2015 with Sasha, Becky, etc. So, I mean, it is 10 years, but at that point, the revolution started, and so you're going back 10 plus years to a time when the product, by not just in the women's side, the product in general was fucking ass most weeks.
Yeah, and then suddenly get flipped on its head almost.
So, I think we wasted too much time on this segment, but
good to chat about, though. I think that's a good one to chat about.
I just genuinely, it should have made more sense on SmackDown. There is more of a gap on SmackDown. Yeah, for women's wrestlers.
I think that's a very, very fair argument that I think most people in the comments would agree with as well.
If the plan is to help Stephanie Vicker with promos and then I can see it. I just felt the backstage segment was a bit inauthentic. It didn't feel clean, but I'm also fully aware that if you're talking to a non-native speaker, we've discussed this when we're making the podcast and making all the videos, that as people with difficult accents to understand me, especially me, I feel inauthentic when I slow down and overly enunciate. I feel like I'm not being me and I'm talking, the way people go to Spain and they just point and shout louder. Like that's how I feel, and that's how that promo felt to me. But Stephanie Vickers, maybe it is the next evolution in Stephanie Vickers' character, because in ring she's phenomenal. The promos are coming along, but you can't have weak promos as a world champion. You have to fucking deliver, and
you do. Yeah,
maybe it's not a bad shout. Maybe it buys him some feuds and buys him some time. So confusion, but I guess there's some intrigue there. I just hope we don't have this ass kissing thing that we had the last time Nikki Bella was on telly, because why would Io Sky be praising Nikki Bella? Io Sky's the best wrestler on the fucking planet.
Very true. Don't think anyone's
going to disagree with that. Another thing I was bringing up right now as well, when people talk about Triple H not knowing how to book things. There's never been more stars in WWE than there is right now. I mean, you literally have 3 of the best women wrestlers in the world, and Kairi Sane, who's not far off them, involved in a non-title feud, and they're putting on fucking top class matches, top class tag team matches. You've got Roman Reigns, who is the star of the show when he's there, not involved in the title picture, and you've got Dom Mysterio, who's in the mid-card title, and it's just the most over person there's ever been in the history of the business, just a bit. So you can't criticise that level of booking and let people over. Yes, we would like to see more title changes. Yes, Jey Uso's title reign was longer than 9 of John Cena's 17 title runs. So there is a little bit of things can change more, but at the same time, Roman's run was brilliant. Maybe it went 6 months too long, but it is what it is. The final story, Ross, I make is 56 minutes into this podcast, so a good 10-15 minutes on this whole segment, because it is the
5
title
minutes for a Buzzsprout allowance for the month. So you're going to pay $2 for you to get on your soapbox here, I suspect.
Yeah, you go to TikTok and what donate to us, please do. I'll find as a sponsor to cover Buzzsprout for the month. I'm speechless at what happened here. Okay? And I am struggling to put this into words because I'm not sure if I want to give you my whole thoughts, or let's go breakdown by breakdown. So we'll go breakdown by breakdown and say that CM Punk relatively cleanly pins Jey Uso last week. It was Jey Uso. It was Jey pinned, wasn't it, the week before? Aye. It wasn't LA Knight.
Don't think so. Don't remember. Could be right.
Aye. That's bad because we literally talk about this every week, but
my memory. Not what it used to be.
Anyway, I'll start with the obvious point in this match, that when I woke up and checked everything that happened on Raw yesterday or this morning, the half of the competitor list did not intrigue me at all. Which was concerning. CM Punk won a match the week before to become the number one contender for the World Heavyweight Championship in a match to take place at upcoming Saturday night's main event. My biggest concern, and yes, he did pin Jey. That's what I was trying to stall for time. He pinned Jey relatively cleanly, and now we're going to run it back. Okay, so that in itself confusing to me now. Is this to set up a Jimmy and Jey story? But we've had a Jimmy and Jey story. We reversed it. We put the Usos back together. Now we're going to split them up. I'm on the best every week. Just make a fucking decision. I feel like this was a free hit for a Dom Mysterio. You could be like, could Dom Mysterio still get the crowd reaction against CM Punk?
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have to win. It's definitely a match he could lose as long as he performs.
Yeah, I think so. I think most people would probably agree with you on that one.
So let's go person by person, right? And this is the competitor list and the order it's on Bleacher Report. Rusev was never winning that match.
Mm-hmm.
Ivar was never winning that match. Grayson Waller was never winning the match. Kofi was never winning the match. Dom was an option. Finn Balor could have been, probably not. There's two people so far. JD McDonough was never winning it. Akira Tozawa, Otis, El Grande Americano have never won it. Penta,
maybe.
Based on recent... that's 3. Jey Uso is 4. Jimmy was never winning it. LA Knight's 5. AJ Styles is 6. Dragon Lee, Sheamus. There was 6 people in there that realistically could have been in a position to win that. You probably would take out Finn Balor and Penta based on the books. You're down to 4, one of which already holds 2 titles. So realistically, at that point, you're down to 3. AJ Styles just picked up the tag team championship, and putting them in a title match right now would really hinder that elevation of Dragon Lee. So you've basically put yourself back into a position where it's the 2 guys who lost last week. It wasn't a compelling story, was it? Really, for the Battle Royal?
Yeah, it is a bit of a question mark for me. And I think it might end up being one of those ones where the intrigue, the question marks, what are we going to do, where are we going to go from here, is more going to come from the method in which it happened versus the end result of it. Because surely the Usos are going to have some kind of trouble here. It is odd though, because is this going to be some sort of weird situation where Punk wins here, and then is he then going to end up somehow getting screwed out of a Mania Night 1 match? As the concern for me is, like, if they're doing these kind of weird things now, Mania season will creep up on you pretty quickly, and do they book themselves into a corner where they have to take it off them before that, or I don't know.
So here's the situation I'm looking at. Right, we'll keep pushing the Dom Mysterio love on this channel for Monday Night Raw. When he landed outside the ring and then re-entered the match because the referees hadn't noticed, I thought that was brilliant. That's a great way to do it, because it creates a story for him to finish second or third in the Battle Royal to eventually go after him. The bit that lost me was, I think this has been set up for Bron Breaker to be the world champion. We saw the image of the house shows at the weekend where he carried that title, and it's the best that belt has looked on anyone since it was introduced. He's ready, but like we said at SummerSlam, the moment has to be right. We felt that Punk winning that title for 5 minutes cheapened him winning a title post-return. And I feel like this would be the same if he just won it not from vacant, but he has to beat the right person and at the right moment. And I'm making a little bit of a long-term prediction here. I also think if CM Punk wins his championship next weekend, yes, so we can start that's next weekend, but fucking hell, that's so quick.
I know,
that's cheap.
Mad.
I think that's cheap because I think it doesn't feel right these won 2 titles so close together. But it wouldn't have felt cheap had it have been Rollins because that's the Punk story. We'll now have a title match where there is no compelling story apart from the fact that Punk beat Jey Uso last week. I think Jey Uso wins this title next weekend.
I mean, I don't necessarily hate it because you do tend to see it that when there's like a vacuum left because of a quote unquote injury that you have to do something and you're better off just going and then twisting it just to see what happens because that's your chance to. I wouldn't necessarily hate it.
I'll go into the detail next week when we do a prediction show run about this because obviously we've still got a Raw to come that may change my opinion on it, but I just wonder if they're going to set up Jey wins, Jey drops it to Roman, and we get Roman Bron Breaker at WrestleMania or SummerSlam next year. And that's Bron Breaker's moment because that's the story we thought we were going to get as a Bron Breaker Roman Reigns match at some point. The reason I'm thinking that is I don't think CM Punk as the World Heavyweight Champion was the WrestleMania story. I still think we might see him on against Cody Rhodes or elsewhere, and I don't think he should have a short run.
Yeah, I'd like to see him have one nice run and then that's kind of winding down.
Whereas I think Jey Uso has already shown that he can do a short run and be fine and keep the crowd on side after it. And that's fair play to him that we're talking about him as a safe pair of hands for a short run to allow the stories to play out. And that's where I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it from what I want to see. I'm looking at it from a logical point of view. I reckon that Punk and Rollins and Breaker and Reigns and Cody and Drew and Randy were all roughly penciled into whatever was taking them through Mania season. And they're going to use somebody that wasn't penciled. I mean, I see this as a free hat. This should have been LA Knight, Dom Mysterio, Sami Zayn, somebody like that. I get it could have cheapened somebody's first title run. But and that's where I think it's going. I think it is Bron Breakker that comes out of this now drawn out story as World Heavyweight Champion.
And looking good.
The moment matters for a first timer, and the person they beat matters for a first timer. And I think they'll set it up in the right way. For that very reason, I think it could be a Roman Reigns, especially because if they decide that Roman Reigns is like, you know what, I'm going to work full time for a year. A loss to Roman doesn't hurt you. We saw that with Cody. So I'm very intrigued by this story because I think it's so open. The other thing is Punk could win and just carry the title because Punk. Maybe they go the simple route. It's weird. I think in a world where it was Punk versus Rollins, I might have picked Punk. But in a world where it's not, I don't want to pick Punk because, like I said, I don't think that's the story. I don't think Punk and Jey Uso have a story.
Yeah, they don't necessarily. At least not right now. Things change. But
you've only got one week to build it.
Yeah. How on earth do you do that?
I mean, the interesting aspect is that the Friday Night SmackDown is taking place in Utah, where SNME is. So in theory, the whole roster will be there for that weekend. So there is a possibility that they might get 2 shows to build this story. But
tough, isn't it?
It's tough. It's very tough. I'm also making the assumption we won't see the WWE Championship defended at Saturday night's main event because they don't need to rush that either. So this is definitely one for the comments.
100%. Like if you guys are at home, we want to know what you guys think about this because we are intrigued. I think we're going to use intrigued here.
We're using intrigued, yeah.
As to what this could be.
We're not confused because they had to pivot. And the intrigue is, do they just pick 2 safe pair of hands? Maybe there's a world in which somebody like LA Knight loses when it becomes triple threat again. I don't know. You know, if you were eliminated by Dom Mysterio, who'd already been eliminated, could you maybe make a case it should be in? I don't know. But it's definitely an intrigue because it's not obvious. Punk on paper, but like I said, I just think his story would have been more penciled out for WrestleMania than Jey Uso's. And that creates intrigue because especially if we're expecting a Gunther return, Gunther has history with both the men.
He does, yeah.
That's
very true.
And maybe it doesn't matter who wins. Maybe the plan is that they'll have a Gunther, Punk, Jey Uso and somebody else multi-man match
6 men in some sort of steel structure, maybe.
Perhaps add additional couple of guys, have some sort of steel structure. I mean, I think that's it for us, isn't it? That World Heavyweight title picture is insane at the moment. It's so weird that it's two guys who have held the title this year, especially with an opportunity to potentially put someone else over.
Mm.
That's the missed opportunity for me. It's like you have at least 3 big events for the end of the year, 2 before the Royal Rumble, and they'll probably add a third, depending on the plan. Because I know some people said that the plan for John Cena's last match should be 1 match and everything else should be all about John Cena, but you could have 2 matches and 1 match could be somebody dropping the title, because it's not going to be the big story. So if it's like just putting the title on somebody who needs to have it for the Mania season, you could do that and it won't hurt the other person too much. I just like take a punt on someone. Jey Uso's title reign was really good. It was really enjoyable. Took a punt on him at WrestleMania. Take a punt on somebody at Saturday night's main event.
I mean, if anything, that should be what Saturday night main event's for, right?
So with that being said, we will be back next week with yet another prediction show, which might be difficult because there's not much of this card is shaking out yet at all. So hopefully that card starts to take shape a bit more this weekend. But as it's Saturday night main event, it's usually a short card, 3 or 4 matches. That means we'll be doing our usual weekly analysis and talking all things WWE storytelling. Will we see Sami Zayn back on telly next week? Ross said unlikely. Will we have a clearer understanding of where this World Heavyweight Championship is likely to go? Probably not. Will the SmackDown women actually deliver something worthwhile and worthwhile watching next week? Also probably not. But apart from that, I mean, I'm really intrigued to see what Ilya Dragunov says, because he's going to have to cut a promo at some point, isn't he?
Oh yeah, he will do. And I think that's going to be where I think we're going to put a bit of his sort of statement down as to what this little or large reign might be. Definitely be choosing for that.
And finally this week on the Saturday Squash, we are fixing SmackDown. We have said for a number of months now that SmackDown has struggled, particularly since the move to the 2-hour show, which only leaves them about 80 minutes for actual wrestling. And compared to Raw, the stories just aren't hitting the mark. Ross and I are going to debate 3 methods each of how we would fix and re-elevate SmackDown to where it was earlier in the year, when it was the more enjoyable of the 2 shows to watch. Take it easy, guys. We'll see you on Saturday for the squash and back here next week for a prediction show for Saturday night's main event.